Coming this fall from SJS Direct, Easting the Sands of Time. It's action, adventure, and romance in ancient Egypt in this fantasy flashback Easting series adventure. Pre-order Easting the Sands of Time today on Amazon.com. Just when you thought SJW Marvel brought the standards for comics to an all-time low, DC takes out a shovel and digs an even deeper hole. Now, DC Comics has decided to launch a new premium line of comics called the Black Label. And as part of the Black Label line, they decided to launch a Batman series called Batman Damned. And in this first issue, we get a shot of Bruce Wayne's penis in one of the comic panels. And with this shot of Batman's genitals, we see DC Comics taking comics out of the gutter and straight into the sewer. Now, when it comes down to a character like Batman, you would think a company like DC Comics would go out of its way to keep a character like Batman a family character and keep the superheroes of the DC universe primarily family-oriented characters that would be appealing to readers of all ages. Now, I know in the past there have been more mature readers type comics like The Question and Green Arrow, but even those comics, while they were for mature readers, oftentimes kept their content usually PG or PG-13, or at the most a soft R. So usually you got brief bits of nudity and maybe some little minor graphic violence as in comparison to standard comic book violence, but nothing as extreme as what I saw with that panel from that Black Label Batman book. That Black Label Batman book really takes us from the standard of it that the big two used to have, where they try to follow the comics code, and then takes us into a place I really don't think a mainstream comic publisher should go with iconic characters like Superman and Batman. When it comes down to Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and the DC superheroes and the Marvel superheroes, I just don't want to see comic panels of superheroes' genitalia in front of me, because these are characters marketed to families, and like Star Wars, this is just a bad look for DC, because when your Star Wars decided that Lando Calrissian was going to be a pansexual, there was a major backlash as related to Solo, a Star Wars movie, because many Star Wars fans were completely turned off about the fact that your Lucasfilm and Disney were trying to make Lando Calrissian a sexual deviant, because a pansexual is not just a person who has a different sexual orientation. They are attracted to just about anything, and that included pedophilia and necrophilia and bestiality. So people were completely turned off at the fact that Lucasfilm and Disney turned Lando Calrissian into a sexual deviant. And as a comic fan, I'm completely turned off by the concept of us seeing Batman's genitalia in a DC comic. That should never be the standard for family-oriented superhero characters. Family-oriented superhero characters who are icons, they need to be kept PG, PG-13, and they need to meet a certain standard for storytelling. This, as I see it, is just not appropriate for a comic book, and it's just a poor way to launch a premium line of comics. This is just another bad decision by your Dan Video, who has been running DC Comics into the ground, because he's looking to shock market to customers regarding the Black Label line, trying to get comic fans talking about the controversy in YouTube videos and on social media groups. However, when I take a critical look at this type of marketing stunt, what it does is that it alienates customers, and it does not give them an incentive to buy it. Yes, there will be some people out here who will buy these comics, and they will buy them because they think it's going to go up in value, so you're going to get some speculators buying it. But hardcore comic fans who want great stories, they're going to be turned off buy this type of gimmickry, and they're going to be turned off by this kind of marketing stunt, because showing Batman's genitals is nothing more than a marketing stunt designed to shock readers into buying a comic, and it shows how desperate DC Comics is to get readers. Because if you have to use pornography to get people to buy comics, it shows that your audience has really dwindled to an all-time low. Because if you can't, and it also shows that when it comes down to DC, nobody's really focused on the standard of storytelling. Now that Jeff Johns has gone on to make films, we're at the standard of video, and he's all about shocking people and not about storytelling. Because if you really wanted to launch a great Black Label line, you have Batman's name, and Batman's name alone can sell comic books. And it shows a complete lack of confidence in Batman's name if we have people trying to use his nudity, frontal nudity, to sell a comic rather than getting us focused on the story. So we're all focused on the flash of Batman's privates, but not on the substance of the detective storytelling. And this is the same thing that has been derailing the comic book industry for over 25 years, this constant focus on flash and not on substance, because any brilliant comic publisher, they're going to be out here trying to sell the public on their stories and trying to get readers to buy their stories on the merit. When I look at this whole launch of this Black Label line, it's a tarnished launch, because there's no need to go and try to push a line based on gimmicks like this. If you really want to sell comics, just make great stories. We don't need to know about things like Batman's genitalia. We don't need to see that kind of stuff, because with a family character, or a character that's targeted to families and children, this is just not appropriate at all. Whether it be a premium line, an Elseworlds line, or even a mainstream DC Universe line, when it comes down to characters of the DC superheroes, they need to be kept family oriented, and they need to be kept presented in a way that makes them appealing to readers of all ages, not readers of adult content. Because if you want adult content, as I see it, create some new characters, put them in their own adventures, and then launch your Black Label line featuring those characters. But when it comes down to the comic book industry, they don't want to do that kind of work, because trying to build an audience for a new character means that you have to go out here and build that audience, and they don't want to do that hard work. So they go out here and make Batman the face of a line, which he should not be the face of. Because when it comes down to, again, Batman, I would like to see Batman, like Star Wars, be a family product, and a product targeted towards families and children. Because if this character has been an icon for 80 years as related to family characters, then they need to remain that way. And if you want to make more adult-oriented content, which features adult themes and graphic adult imagery, then create new characters, create new stories, and build an audience with that Black Label line, and use the Black Label line with those characters, not characters in the DC Universe. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, The Temptation of John Haynes, and the Sinisterella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.